Wow, I think each and every one of these presentations has left me speechless. Now, well, I want to ask Anna and Carlijn and Ekim to join us forward, and while they do so, maybe I ask you a question, because I was struck by your presentation, obviously, but I would nearly challenge your point by saying, do we not also need to redefine citizenship? When you wrote your letter, or the letter you wrote was in 1955. This was before Moses and Jane Jacobs had their ways.
Definitely before Moses.
Yes. The other, Robert Moses, to be clear on that. That said, just to provoke you a little bit, how can we even start from the other side to re-emancipate or re-envision what it means to be a citizen?
Right. For me, what I've understood as a New Yorker, what it means to be a citizen is it's not about what's written down. It's not about the policy. It's not necessarily about the law. It's about the way that you practice citizenship. Citizenship is a practice. So when I was reading the letter, what I was really trying to describe was not an argument. I was trying to an argument of citizenship. I was trying to show the practice of citizenship, the way of communicating. There are many levels of citizenship that are in the story. The way that the neighbors related to each other, the way they shared their problems with each other, the way they built structures to advocate for each other, and the way they educated themselves. They learned whole new skills, whole new skill sets, and they really sort of reached out into a landscape that was really very confusing and difficult, and found a way to understand it. So at the very least, they came to a very clear understanding of their own understanding of what was going to happen to them, which was very different than what was explained to them by their government. Yeah. So to me, that's an old model of citizenship, but it's still a workable one.
Yeah, yeah.
If I can turn to Carlijn, because there are many relations between, I think, all the four speeches and interview. And what struck me in your presentation, or how you view the world, is the notion of hierarchy. How learning is high and how being practical is low. How can we relate when we're talking about more inclusiveness, the outsider becoming the insider, which I think all were the perspective of we're discussing. How do you think we can lower these barriers or make it more horizontal? If at all.
Good question. No. Also, thank you about your comment, by the way, and thank you for your presentation. But I think what we all four of us are trying to say is that we need to search for other ways to communicate with each other, with everyone, and that we should not stuck to searching for one kind of truth or one kind of method to work in, but that we should accept the fact that there are multiple ways and multiple backgrounds and multiple sides, and that indeed when we are believing in this one truth and we fall apart and we cannot seem to understand each other because of what kind of, I don't know, all sorts of distance, in that moment it's very important to still, although we are all different and we have other ways to talk about things, create ways of communicating to steer towards a better horizon or an inclusive, durable society.
Is it also maybe, Anna, to raise awareness that it works like this? Because maybe that's also one of the issues we're having in our current society. We're not even aware that we have these hierarchies of these categories where we are unable to use different methods because we always use one method. How do you see that?
Well, for me, it's very important this bottom, let's say, perspective. It has been for me a conscious choice to go this direction in life. From the very beginning, when I started to work, I was interested always in the processes that were not perceived, that were hidden from our view. The name of my practice is called stealth because it looks at stealth processes which are hidden from us. And trying then to bring them somehow and make them visible, both for our profession but also to the level of politics. So I think bridging these worlds is definitely very important. But I must personally say that at this point, I don't have a big trust in politics. I don't see that politics is moving in the direction in which society wants to move. So that's why, for me personally, at this point, connections between initiatives like ours, and that's where we are putting the most of our energy, is the most important in building coalitions and building bigger, let's say, networks which work together towards this change, and with that, hopefully, we will also somehow push or pull politics.
Yeah. Actually, you touched upon the notion of debt. So we're talking about economy, and one of the things that struck me in your presentation is that you said we should take property out of the market. Now, I was wondering, how is that going, and how could we do? By other words, I think, and I'm not being cynical, but I'm truly curious to see, I think it's Haversteder who gave you the property. Is it 6 or 8 houses? I forget, sorry.
Now 6.
Now 6, okay.
Well, actually, and 52 more apartments from yesterday.
Okay, but the point is obviously much more behind that question is the question of the experimentation is granted because the market, let's say, provided for you to have that opportunity. Now, how do you envision to take property out of the market on a more structural basis?
What we are attempting now is to buy properties. So as I said, we had 3 failed attempts so far. There is a 4th one that we are preparing. We even got very friendly people who are ready to support us financially, but I don't think that this is the way to go. There has to be an agreement on a more strategic level how this is to go about, because if we are selling social housing for the highest bid, what is the sense of that? If there are, on the other hand, people that are pushing for socially relevant things and they don't get a space for this, something is obviously not working there. So things have to be worked together on. And we historically here had a quite strong squatting movement. This should not be forgotten. It's one way to go. Maybe squatting is necessary again as a way to show to politics that this is needed. Another context where I come from is a socialist Yugoslavia, where we had societal property, which is a different form of property, which might be necessary for certain things. So there are ways to think about, there are some remembrance from the past, but also there are current things going on that are inspiring to think about, like, for instance, Mietshäuser Syndicate in Germany, association of people that rent buildings but own them collectively, which we are trying also through Freicoop, which is a new initiative, similar in the same direction going as the Mietshäuser Syndicate in Germany, to reinvent collective ownership.
Yeah.
Okay. Ekim, Anna doesn't have high trust in politics. You were addressing it very literally also in your presentation, and even a letter to the mayor. It is very, very political as a statement. When it comes to, also what Carlijn mentioned, when it comes to these different methodologies, different languages, different approaches, which is very unpolitical, because political is looking for one method or one system for one size fits all. How can we make this link, you think? Do you have the same level of low trust, or do you think it's possible to make politics part of your interface?
Yeah, I think that maybe I am with Anna, especially coming from Istanbul and seeing how, I mean, politics looks really hopeless, while on the other hand, civil society is moving in a complete different direction, which I have never seen in Turkey. So I think that is something to recognize. And also what you have addressed, I think just exercising active citizenship while actually finding methods of communication with different parties and different segments, I think that's but we should keep trying, I think.
Yeah. In your case, I was also wondering to what scale could we scale the play the city game up?
Yeah, that's a question we are also with every new assignment figuring out. I think, as I said, I think it's a communication tool effectively. Huh? It's with the purpose of design. It brings people together. So if you want to communicate on the policy level, you can do that. You can also do that on the very small, collective housing level. So we have tried different scales, and I must say, I think especially on the policy level, on the higher abstract level, there is a lot of need of such communication methods where actually the cross section of the society differs so much in terms of communication needs.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time for lunch. But if there's one very urgent question or comment to make based on this beautiful, then there's one very enthusiastic person popping up, so please stand up, and what would you like to add or comment?
Hello, my question is for Adeola. Did you get an answer from the Rotterdam architects? Especially to your remark that they were actually more looking for patrons rather than a constructive dialogue.
Good point. Cool. And the question was by Tracy Metz, by the way.
I got nothing from the architects. But listen, my offer still stands. You want to know my email? You shoot me an email anytime. I'm here. You find me in Amsterdam. You know, catch me
Maybe
outside.
over lunch, because I see quite some
we
of
saw
them
some
here.
fingers, so there you go, there you go. Okay, a lunch announcement.
Yes, a lunch announcement. So you already know where to find the coffee, tea, and the toilets. When it comes to lunch, there's a table with sandwiches outside. You can buy either a small plate for €5 with 2 sandwiches on it, or a big plate if you're super hungry for $7.50 with 3 sandwiches on it. That's basically what I wanted to say. We only accept card payments, so if you forgot your card, look at your neighbor with a friendly face. That's it.
Caring is
Enjoy.
sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up one more time for our lovely speakers, Carlijn, Anna, Ekim, and I'm sorry.
Adeola.